Yes, I know that I'm displaying vertically, right? I've been trying to make it, horizontal, but it keeps saying rotate device. I don't know what's going on tonight. Yeah. But if you can see me clearly, let me use my microphone. You are most welcome to another exciting review. Yes, in case you didn't hear me, I said I've been trying to display my screen vertically, right? But then it's been telling me to rotate it. So if you can see me and hear me clearly, let me know, right? I think this is the best I can get tonight for this live session to hold. Right. So you are most welcome. And I'm so excited that we're starting another book beginning from today titled Atomic Habits. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Right. Atomic Habits by James Clear. That is what we are starting, right? I'm not trying to motivate you right now, but I'm going to say that you should not miss any part of the review of this book and the reading of this book as well, right? Habits make up our lives. Whatever we're going to become in life starts with tiny, 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 tiny habits, atomic habits. So tonight we're going to look at the incredible, mind-blowing story of James Clear, the author of this book. But before we do that, what is atomic? What does it mean? Atomic, or an atom, if you did science in school, you must have learnt about atom. An atom is an extremely small amount of a thing, very small, very tiny, right? The single irreducible unit of a larger system. You cannot break down an atom further. It is the smallest unit of a times of a thing, rather. So imagine how small an atom is. An atom can also be the source of immense energy or power. Now, habits. You know what an habit is, or what a habit is. It is a routine or practice performed regularly, an automatic response to a specific situation. So if you form an habit or a habit, whichever one, it is something that you do regularly, consciously or unconsciously. It has become a part of you, a routine, whether good or bad. So in this book, we're going to learn how tiny changes can make remarkable results in our lives. And this book offers an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. Your life is the result of the habits that you form, whether consciously or unconsciously. So let's look at the mind-blowing story of James Clear and what led him to writing this book. According to his story, on the final day of his sophomore year of high school, sophomore is like the second year, right, of high school, he was hit in the face with a baseball bat. Not a baseball, but the bat of a baseball. Somebody was trying to play a baseball, and the bat slipped off this person's hand, and where he was standing, the bat came straight for his face, landed like in the middle of this, and broke his nose on the spot, such that his nose became distorted, like a distorted U shape, right? And then the collision sent the soft tissue of his brain slamming into the inside of his skull. His eye sockets were bulging out. It was a terrible, terrible accident. He started bleeding. But at that time, nobody was able to determine the impact of that accident. And so they were taking things slowly. They took him to the school nurse and all of that. They did not realize that every moment mattered. And by the time he got to the nurse, and the nurse was trying to ask him some questions to determine if his brain was still functioning, if he knew what he was doing. And the nurse asked him, what year are we in? He said 1998, even though it was actually 2002. Then the nurse also asked him, who is the president of the United States? He said Bill Clinton, instead of George W. Bush. Then the nurse asked him again, what's the name of your mom? And it took him like 10 seconds. He was blabbing. He did not remember. That was when they knew that there was problem. And before they knew it, he became unconscious and they had to rush him to the hospital. When they got to the hospital, his body had started shutting down. He could hardly breathe. He struggled to swallow, to breathe, to do so many basic things, right? So they tried to give him oxygen, and the hospital realized that they couldn't handle him there. They had to fly him by an helicopter to a bigger hospital. They took him to a bigger hospital, and it was there that they also saw that it was a big accident. So they had to put him into a medically induced coma so that they could treat him properly, right? And he let us know in this book that his parents were no strangers to this hospital because 10 years before, his younger sister had been taken to that hospital when she had leukemia, cancer of the blood, at the age of 3. And 2.5 years later, she was cancer free. And sorry, what's wrong with my English tonight? Come on. She became cancer free and walked out of the hospital healthy, right? So 10 years after, he was taken to the same hospital, and the same priest that ministered to his parents when his sister was down with cancer ministered to the parents again. The parents were sleeping in the hospital. They were worried. They were perplexed. Of course, typical of any caring parents, right? And the hospital was doing everything within their power to save him. Thankfully, he recovered. He was brought out of coma, and his recovery process began. It wasn't easy. It wasn't a smooth one. His face had been distorted already. Thank you. Yes, he lost his memory for a while when the accident happened, but luckily for him, he started recovering. They tried to test his sense of smell, and they gave him an apple juice to smell. He was able to smell it. Then they tried to tell him to blow his nose, but as he was trying to blow, the fluid was coming out from an opening around his eyes, somewhere there. He had multiple fractures. It was a terrible hospital. Sorry. Oh my God. It was a terrible accident, right? But then he was discharged from the hospital, but the following months were so hard for him. He felt like everything in his life was on pause. He felt depressed. He felt so overwhelmed. But one thing he told himself was that he wasn't going to give up. And very shortly, we're going to learn how he began writing this book, what led him into writing this book, right? He told himself that he wasn't going to give up, even though for weeks rather, he had double vision. Imagine feeling like your eyes are full. You are looking at something and it's appearing twice, right? He literally couldn't see straight. It took him more than a month, but his eyeball did eventually return to its normal location, thankfully, right? And then he tried to go back to playing baseball because he was passionate about baseball, just like his father. And he wanted to play baseball professionally. But when he got back, it wasn't a smooth one. He was actually demoted. When the season rolled around, he was the only junior to be cut from the varsity baseball. And he told us in this book that even though he had been playing baseball from the age of 4, it was very painful for him, for somebody who had been practicing, who really wanted to play it professionally, who saw himself, rising through the ranks in the sports of baseball. So he saw it to be a very humiliating incident. But what would he do? There was nothing he could do. On this particular day that he was demoted, he actually went into his car and he cried so hard. He had to check through the stations, the radio stations, to see if any song would be played that could soothe his pain. Right. After a year of self-doubt, he managed to make the varsity team as a senior, but he rarely even made it to the field. The entire game that he played was not even up to a single game, right? He was always benched, I guess. But then, in spite of his career in baseball, he still believed that he could become a great player. He did not give up. He did not allow his spirit to be dampened. So he knew that if things were going to improve, I want us to take note of this statement. If things were going to improve, I knew that if things were going to improve, I was the one responsible for making it happen. That means we are responsible for the happenings in our lives. Yes. If our lives will get better, we are responsible. So he decided to take charge of his own life. And the turning point came for him 2 years after his injury when he began college at Denison University. It was a new beginning, and it was the place where he would discover the surprising power of small habits for the first time. So this is how he learned about small habits. When he got into Denison University, it was actually one of the best decisions in his life. He earned the spot in the baseball team, and even though he was at the bottom of the roster as a freshman, a fresh student at the university, he was so happy to even secure that spot. And in spite of the chaos of high school and everything, he became a college athlete, right? So he told himself that he was going to focus on his life in order to get his own life in order. So the first thing he did was to build a good sleeping habit. He started going to bed early. And even though he was living in the dormitory, which could be messy, different students there and all of that, he said that he managed to keep his own space, his room, neat and tidy, because he wanted to be in control of his life. He wanted to be in charge. This was how he started tiny habits that eventually made big changes in his life and made him a successful businessman. So those habits that you are overlooking, when we say read, right, even if it is 1 page a day, they are tiny habits. Big changes do not come only when you do big things. In fact, it is the small habits, the tiny things that you do, but that you do consistently, that compound into the big changes that you are waiting for. So stop waiting until you can do that big thing, that dramatic thing, what that everybody is going to see. The tiny things that you do in your closet, they matter a lot, and they are going to form you over time. So by keeping his room tidy, going to bed early, taking charge of his own life, he began to feel confident again. And don't even forget that he had every reason to be depressed and go and hide in a corner, because now his face had been distorted, his nose had been distorted. He could have developed a terrible low self-esteem, but he told himself that he wasn't going to give up. And so he started getting his confidence back to the point that it was reflecting in his academics, and he managed to get straight A's during his first year at the university. So his habits became a routine, a behavior that he performed regularly, this habit of his. And even sometimes we do habits automatically, right? Things that we do automatically, we don't even know that we do them. And he started lifting weights again. He would make sure that he lifts weights at least every week. And he grew from 170 to 200 pounds, right? And when it was time for him to play baseball again, when the sophomore season arrived, he earned a starting role on the pitching staff. And do you know what? 6 years after he had been hit in the face, after he had this terrible accident with a baseball bat, and was flown to the hospital, placed into a coma, he was selected as a top male athlete at Denison University 6 years after. He was named to the ESPN Academic All-American team, an honor given to just 33 players across the entire America. And by the time he graduated, that same year, he was awarded the university's highest academic honor. He got the President's Medal. So he did not only do well in baseball, he also did well academically. Right. So he said that these are not the result of big happenings, dramatic happenings. They happened to him little by little. And these habits helped him to fulfill his potential. If we also form good habits, they will help us to fulfill our potentials as well. The concepts in this book are going to help us. We all face challenges in life. His own challenge, or one of his own challenges, was the injury he had. And the experience taught him critical lessons. Changes that seem small and unimportant at first will compound into remarkable results if you are willing to stick with them for years. Unfortunately, a lot of people start something, they really mean well, they are passionate at the beginning, but they give up along the line. And then they say, well, things are not working. They are frustrated. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be smooth. But you have to tell yourself that you're responsible for the outcome of your own life. Right? So these little habits, tiny habits, will compound into remarkable results if you are willing to stick with them for years. We all deal with setbacks. But in the long run, the quality of our lives often depends on the quality of our habits. It is true. Everything you do every day, part time, or the things you even refuse to do, bad habits, not taking action, they will reflect in the quality of your life. Imagine somebody that works 10 hours per day, even though we can say, oh, it's not about how many hours you work. But then we know that hard work pays, right? Somebody that works 10 hours per day compared to somebody who works only 1 hour and sleeps for the rest of the day, they're not going to have the same results. It is true. Maybe there are people who can achieve incredible success overnight, but he doesn't know of any of them. I don't know of any of them either. You have to build habits consistently. Put your mind to it. As human beings, we are always in a hurry. We want to see results immediately. He said that there wasn't one defining moment on his journey. Everything that he was able to achieve was a gradual evolution, a long series of small wins and tiny breakthroughs. I love this part. So the only way he made progress, the only choice he had, was to start small. Start from wherever you are. Tell yourself you're going to pray for 10 minutes a day. Every day. Tell yourself you're going to read at least 2 pages of a book every day, or 1 chapter of a book every day, no matter how tired you are. After a while, your system is going to adjust. Tell yourself that you're going to go to bed. By 10 p.m. every day, you will switch off the TV and go to bed. Tell yourself that you're not going to be pressing your phone when you're supposed to be studying. Tiny habits. So how and why did he write this book? In November 2012, he began publishing articles on his own website called jamesclear.com. And for years, he had been keeping notes about his personal experiments, and experiences as well. And a time came when he felt like, it was time to share his experiences with the world. So he began publishing a new article every Monday and Thursday. And within a few months, this writing habits, simple writing habits, led to his first 1,000 email subscribers. This was in 2012. And by the end of 2013, his subscriber base had grown to more than 30,000 people. And by 2014, to over 100 people. Right? When he started, he felt like an imposter. He wasn't even sure of what he was doing. Would people, be able to relate with his story? Would they think that it was making sense? I can relate to this as well. When I started content creation, I just wanted to share my knowledge with the world. I wasn't sure if people would find what I was saying relatable, or they would just say, who is this one? Things like that. Sometimes you have that imposter syndrome, but you just have to get over it. He also had that syndrome, but he was excited. He kept on doing it. The same thing I did. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, feeling that the whole world is watching you. I'm telling you the truth. Sometimes you just want to be in your shell. You just want to keep your life private. But you know that if you do that, you're not going to maximize your potential. The only way to do it is to launch out. So keep putting yourself out there every day if that is what you want. The only way to succeed is to go out for success. The only way to make money is to go out and make money. Right? He became uncomfortable, but he kept on doing it. And his readers started increasing. His subscribers started growing. By 2015, he had reached 200,000 email subscribers. And he started getting invitations to speak. So many popular companies started inviting him to train their staff. He was training leaders, coaches, people. He was training for companies. So his business started growing as well, just by sharing his experience. What is that story that you have to share with the world? You are hiding. You feel they are going to make jest of you. They will not relate with you. You just start. I'm telling you that at least one person out there will be blessed by your story. By 2017, he launched the Habits Academy, which became the premier training platform for organizations and individuals interested in building better habits in life and work. Fortune 500 companies and growing startup companies began to enroll their leaders to train under him. And he also got a deal to publish this particular book with a publisher. This is how this book will benefit you. Let's go through this very quickly and then we'll end this review. The entrepreneur and investor Naval Ravikant said, to write a great book, you must first become the book. So he originally learned about the ideas mentioned in this quote because he had to live them, or the ideas mentioned in this book rather, because he had to live them. He had the first-hand experience through the injury that he had in high school, right? He had to rely on small habits to rebound from his injury. Small habits, like lifting weights every week, clearing his room, making his room very neat and tidy, studying, going to bed early and all of that. So in the pages that follow this, he shares step-by-step plan for building better habits, not for days or weeks. Don't think that you're going to build it very shortly and then you give up. No, it is for a lifetime. It is for a lifetime, right? The backbone of this book is the 4-step model of habits. Number 1 is cue. Number 2 is craving. Number 2 is craving. Number 3 is response. And number 4 is reward. We're going to be learning about them. He also lets us know through this book that human behavior is always changing, situation to situation, moment to moment, second to second. But this book is about what doesn't change. It's about the fundamentals of human behavior, the lasting principles you can rely on year after year, the ideas you can build a business around, build a family around, build a life around. It is going to impact your family, your marriage, your business positively. So it's not just about your life and all these little things. It translates into the bigger things. In fact, it helps you to realize your potential. So there is no one right way to create better habits, but this book describes the best way that the author knows, an approach that will be effective regardless of where you start or what you're trying to change. The strategies it covers will be relevant to anyone looking for a step-by-step system for improvement, whether your goals center on health, money, productivity, relationships, or all of the above. As long as human behavior is involved, this book will be your guide. I really cannot wait for us to delve into the nitty-gritty of this book. I am so ready for this. I hope you're ready too, super ready. And I'm so excited because by all means, we must grow, we must improve, our lives must become better day by day. We must do away with bad habits and we must build good habits that we can even pass on to our children who are looking at us with those tiny eyes, right? They wouldn't ask questions most of the time, but they are watching. So you are not building the good habits for yourself alone. It is going to transcend generations. Yes. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me on the review tonight. Yes, so this is the introduction and we just told the story of the author, which lays a good foundation because it's not just bringing us theories, but practical things, lived experiences, right? So tomorrow we're going to come together as we review chapter 1, which is titled The Surprising Power of Atomic Habits. Please don't forget to like this video, share your comments with me in the comment section below, and please subscribe to this channel in case you're yet to subscribe. I remain Olaide Agbaje, also known as First Lady, and on this channel I inspire you to live intentionally. I'll come your way again tomorrow by God's grace. Until then, be intentional. Bye. You're welcome, you're welcome, you're welcome. Bye, everybody.